February 23, 1945. A photographer raised his camera. The shutter clicked. 1/400th of a second. That's all it took. In that single frozen moment, an entire war was summarized. Millions of Americans wept. The president called it a symbol. Congress turned it into a statue. And that photograph became the most recognized image in American history. But here's what nobody told you. The men in that photo, most of them were already dead within weeks. The flag you see, it wasn't even the first one raised that day. And the story that America built around that image was carefully, deliberately constructed. Today, we're going inside the Battle of Iwo Jima, the blood, the sand, the sulfur, the secrets, and the photograph that changed how a nation sees war forever.
Look at this island, Iwo Jima. 8 square miles of volcanic rock and black sand sitting in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. No fresh water, no trees. The ground literally smells like sulfur, like you're standing on the edge of hell itself. Nobody wanted this island. Not the Japanese soldiers ordered to defend it, not the American Marines ordered to take it, not even the strategists who planned the whole operation. So why did 70,000 men fight over it? One word: B-29s. The Americans needed a place to land their bombers that were hitting mainland Japan. Iwo Jima sat exactly halfway between the Mariana Islands and Tokyo. If a B-29 got shot up over Japan, it needed somewhere to land before dropping into the ocean. Iwo Jima was that somewhere. Simple math. Brutal math. Admiral Nimitz estimated the operation would take 5 days. It took 36 days. And by the end, 6,821 Americans were dead, nearly 19,000 wounded. On the Japanese side, of the 21,000 defenders, only 216 surrendered. The rest fought until they died, because their commanding general, Tadamichi Kuribayashi, had given them a specific order. Each man will kill 10 Americans before he dies. This was going to be unlike anything the Marines had ever seen.
February 19, 1945. D-Day for Iwo Jima. 30,000 Marines on ships, looking at the beach, some of them thinking, this doesn't look so bad. The island looked quiet, no gunfire, no movement, just black volcanic sand stretching up toward Mount Suribachi, a dormant volcano at the island's southern tip. The quiet was the trap. Kuribayashi had done something that broke every rule of Japanese military doctrine. Instead of defending the beach, instead of meeting the Americans at the waterline, he pulled his men back, underground. He had spent months building an 18-mile network of tunnels beneath Iwo Jima. Bunkers, hospitals, command centers, ammunition depots, all underground, all connected, all invisible from the air. American bombers had dropped 6,800 tons of bombs on this island before the landing. They hit almost nothing important. So, when the Marines hit the beach on February 19th, the Japanese let them come. 6,000 men landed in the first hour. They started pushing inland, and then Kuribayashi gave the signal. Every hidden gun position opened up simultaneously. Artillery, mortars, machine guns, firing from angles the Marines couldn't see, from positions that didn't appear on any map. Men started dying before they could find cover. The black sand was so loose and deep that boots sank with every step. You couldn't run, you couldn't dig fast enough, and the enemy was everywhere and nowhere. One Marine described it like this: it was like the whole island was shooting at us, and we couldn't shoot back. By the end of day one, 566 Americans were dead, another 1,800 wounded, and they had moved maybe 700 yards inland.
Mount Suribachi, 556 feet tall,
It dominated the entire southern end of the island. Here's the military problem. Whoever holds Suribachi can see everything, every beach, every landing zone, every marine movement on the island below. The Japanese had artillery and observation posts all over that volcano. As long as they held it, they could direct fire onto any American position on the island. Suribachi had to fall first. The 28th Marine Regiment, roughly 600 men, was given the assignment. Attack the volcano, take it. Simple. Except Suribachi had over 1,000 Japanese defenders, hidden in caves, connected by tunnels, with clear firing lines on every approach. For 4 days, the Marines fought their way up the slopes, cave by cave, tunnel by tunnel. Flamethrowers became the weapon of the battle, the only way to clear a position you couldn't see into. Marines would advance, get pinned down, call for a flamethrower team, burn out the position, advance again. Some of those caves had 20 men in them, some had 200. By February 23rd, day 4, a small patrol had worked its way to the summit. They'd carried a small American flag with them. At 10:20 a.m., they raised it on a piece of pipe they found near the top. The men on the beach below saw it. Ships offshore saw it. Someone blew a horn. Men cheered. It was a genuine, raw, emotional moment. But the flag was too small. Secretary of the Navy James Forrestal had come ashore that morning to watch the assault. He looked up at Suribachi and said he wanted that flag as a souvenir. The battalion commander, Lieutenant Colonel Chandler Johnson, heard this and had a different reaction. The hell with that. He wanted that flag to stay with the battalion that earned it. So he sent a runner to find a bigger flag, one that everyone on the island could see, and replace the first one. A second, larger flag was found on a landing ship. 6 Marines were picked to carry it up to the summit and make the swap. One of them was a photojournalist's lucky accident waiting to happen.
Joe Rosenthal, Associated Press photographer, 33 years old, terrible eyesight, so bad the Army and Navy had rejected him, but the AP gave him a camera and sent him to the Pacific. On the morning of February 23rd, Rosenthal heard the first flag had been raised. He grabbed his camera and started climbing Suribachi. He almost turned back. Halfway up, he ran into 2 Marine photographers, Bob Campbell and Bill Janoust, coming back down. They told him the flag had already been raised. He'd missed it. He kept going anyway. When he reached the summit, he saw the 6 Marines preparing to raise the second, larger flag. He looked around for something to stand on. He needed height to get a clear shot. He stacked some rocks and a sandbag to get maybe 2 feet of elevation. The Marines started raising the pole. Rosenthal almost missed it. He later admitted he wasn't even sure the shot was good. He swung his camera around, didn't have time to look through the viewfinder properly, and just shot. The shutter clicked. 1/400th of a second. He shot 18 more frames that day. Posed shots, smiling Marines, waving flags. He thought those would be the publishable images. The one he almost missed, he wasn't sure about. The film went to Guam, processed, transmitted. Within 17 hours, it was on the front page of every newspaper in America. It was perfect. Not because anyone planned it, not because it was staged. It was perfect because of geometry. 6 men leaning into the pole at the exact same angle, against a clean sky, the flag catching wind at precisely the right moment. The composition was so ideal that people assumed it had to be staged. It wasn't. Rosenthal won the Pulitzer Prize. The image became the most reproduced photograph in history. The U.S. Marines used it as the model for the Marine Corps War Memorial, the massive bronze statue in Arlington, Virginia. But the men in the photo, America was about to learn something. 6 men raised that flag. The country needed heroes. The government needed them more. America, in early 1945, was exhausted. War bonds were selling below target. The Treasury needed a massive fundraising push. When that photograph hit the front pages, the decision was made almost immediately. Find the flag raisers, bring them home, put them on a tour. Here's where it gets complicated. Identifying the men in the photo was harder than it should have been. The image showed backs, helmets, and arms. 3 were identified relatively quickly: Ira Hayes, Renee Gagnon, and John Bradley. The other 3 took longer, and one identification would haunt the story for decades. Of the 6 men who raised that flag, Harlan Block, Texas farm boy, 21 years old. His mother saw the photo and immediately said, "That's my Harlan." She recognized him by the way he planted the pole. The government initially said she was wrong. She wasn't. Harlan was killed on Iwo Jima just days after the photograph. He never knew he was in it. Franklin Sousley, Kentucky, 19 years old, one of the youngest, killed on Iwo Jima, March 21, 1945. His mother was notified of his death and the photograph on the same day. Michael Strenk, Czech-born American, sergeant, the oldest of the group at 25, beloved by his men, killed March 1, 1945, possibly by friendly fire from American naval artillery. Some accounts suggest it was a Japanese mortar. Nobody is certain. Ira Hayes, Pima Native American from Arizona, one of the 3 survivors brought home for the war bond tour. He hated it. He felt like a fraud. He said the real heroes were buried in the black sand of Iwo Jima. He struggled deeply after the war. Alcoholism, poverty. He died in 1955 at age 32. Renee Gagnon, New Hampshire, one of the survivors, spent the rest of his life being recognized as the flag raiser, but struggled to find work or stability. People expected something from him he couldn't define or deliver. John Bradley, Wisconsin, Navy corpsman, not a Marine. He almost never spoke about Iwo Jima for the rest of his life. He became a funeral director in Wisconsin. His son James wrote the book Flags of Our Fathers after John died and made a shocking discovery. His father might not have been in the photograph at all. In 2016, after extensive forensic analysis of the photo and film footage taken simultaneously by Bill Gnaust, the Marine Corps officially announced John Bradley was not one of the 6 men in the photograph. The 6th man was actually Harold Schultz, another Marine who had never claimed to be in it, had never sought recognition, and died in 1995 without the public ever knowing. 3 of the 6 men in the most famous photograph in American history were dead before the war even ended.
Here's what we don't talk about enough. Taking that flag photo cost nothing. 1 photographer, 1 camera, 1/400th of a second. Taking that island cost everything. The Battle of Iwo Jima lasted 36 days. By the time it was over, 6,821 Americans killed, 19,217 wounded, nearly 21,000 Japanese killed out of 21,000 defenders, only 216 Japanese captured. Fleet Admiral Chester Nimitz said it best, and it became engraved on the Marine Corps War Memorial. Uncommon valor was a common virtue. Every man on that island, the ones who raised the flag, the ones who died before they could, the ones who survived and never talked about it, they all shared something the photograph could never fully capture. The photograph gave America a symbol. But symbols are clean. Symbols are simple. Symbols don't bleed into volcanic black sand at 0600 in the morning while a man next to you stops moving and you have to keep going anyway.
The three survivors, Hayes, Gannon, and Bradley, all struggled after the war in different ways because they had seen what the photograph hadn't shown. They knew the price of that flag wasn't a single dramatic moment on a volcano summit. It was 36 days. It was 6,821 graves. It was 19,000 men who went home broken in ways the country wasn't ready to discuss in 1945. The photograph told Americans what they needed to believe. The survivors knew what had actually happened.